Ladies and gentlemen, if I could ask you to please take your seats so that we can begin our ceremony this morning. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could find a seat, we'll get our ceremony underway. Oh, I can't see a thing out here. All good? Okay. Right, good morning everyone. Welcome to our special dedication ceremony and thank you very much for joining us. Today we honour Constable Edward O'Neill as a member of Victoria Police and as a soldier, but also his life as a much loved son, husband and father. In respect of the important cultural significance for our First Nations people to welcome visitors to their lands, can I introduce Uncle Ron Marks, Aboriginal Elder of the Baringi Gadjin people, to offer a welcome to country.
Bumble, Dalgut Wadich Jaka, Jadwajali, Malabmi Mamba, Warak Warren, Nanke Warren. I just said it's good that you're on I welcome you to the land of the Jadwajali. Perhaps in the future we will speak together again. And when my grandfather came back from Northern Africa 4 years during the Second World War, him and his mates every Anzac Day would, here's my hand, here's my heart, in a greeting, and I think it's a wonderful greeting in all shapes and sizes. But you look at what the hand does, and the hand builds, constructs, it heals, it shakes, waves, beckons, it smites, but when wonderful things happen with the hand, we all benefit. And I have to give out my hand today for this auspicious occasion because I only had scanned details, and then when Paul told me about the day, I thought, wow, it is an honour to be here when you look at wonderful things that people have done in their lives. And so therefore I won't steal too much of the families, what they will speak about, but the heart is where it all happens. And if you do wondrous things with your hands, it all comes from the heart. So it's with my heart today I say thank you to the family for the invitation to do the welcome, and I hope that we will speak together again soon. We don't say goodbye because goodbye could be forever. We say dolk malok, which means I'll keep my eyes out for you. Thank you very much.
Uncle Ron. Thank you for your very gracious and informative welcome, Uncle Ron, and on behalf of all gathered and those who may be watching the live stream, I extend our deepest respects to your elders, past, present and emerging. Today we make a further entry in what will be another chapter in Victoria's rich history as we dedicate a fitting tribute for a member of Victoria Police, not because of how he died, but for how he lived. My name is Neil Soulier, CEO of the Victoria Police Blue Ribbon Foundation, and I'll be your MC for today's ceremony. Our program today is a formal ceremony with police honours, but also a celebration of life that, had it not been cut short, would have been spent in the service of the Victorian community. In welcoming you today, I wish to express our gratitude to the Harvest Church, our venue for today, Senior Pastor Andrew Cartledge and your congregation for allowing us to use this fantastic place of worship for today's celebration. And I also extend our thanks to those who have travelled great distance to be among us for this celebration, and I know we have quite a few people who have travelled from interstate. We have a number of special guests in our audience, and I'd like to acknowledge a few of them. Our principal guests of honour, members of the O'Neill family, and we'll hear more about them during the course of the program. But I think we have 3 and perhaps 3.5 generations who have travelled from different states to be among us. We thank you all for allowing us to create this memorial in memory of Constable O'Neill, and especially for your participation and your encouragement, and for illuminating Ned's story, which has revealed more about his life and the enduring legacy of a loving and extended family that followed him. And I'll just say that we had an opportunity last night to gather for dinner with the families and some of the people that had travelled up here to be part of the ceremony, and it was a really great reunion in many respects. And I thank the family for joining us for that. Can I also welcome Deb Robertson, APM, Acting Assistant Commissioner of Region 4 and representing the Chief Commissioner of Police. Mr David Mann, AM, KSJ, Chairman of Victoria Police Blue Ribbon Foundation. Our Deputy Chairman of the Foundation, Grant Coltman-Smith, JP, VA. President of the Horsham branch of the Victoria Police Blue Ribbon Foundation, Dale Russell, and past President of the Horsham branch, Mr Jeff Lord. Mayor of the Horsham Rural City, Robin Galeen. Zylie Zanker, Mayor of the Yarramback Shire Council. Deputy Chair of Grampians Health, Mari Aiken, I apologise. Senior Police Chaplain Drew Mellor. Senior Pastor of the Harvest Church here, Andrew Cartledge. Superintendent, Division 4 Western Region, Superintendent Ian Miller. District Fire Officer, Country Fire Authority, Terry Fradd. Superintendent of Victoria Police, Paul Margetts. Inspector of the Victoria Police Protective Services Unit, Georgie Swinton. PSO Senior Sergeant, Serge Rapollo. From Ambulance Victoria, Cameron McDonald. The Community Engagement Manager for Victoria Police Blue Ribbon Foundation, and someone many of you have had a lot of contact with in the last few weeks, Jenny Davis. The President of the Ararat branch of the Victoria Police Blue Ribbon Foundation, Diane Radford, and the Deputy President of the Ararat branch, Sergeant Sean Allen. Welcome also to those who are viewing this ceremony via live stream. This is the first time that we've live streamed this type of dedication ceremony, and we again thank the Senior Pastor here and his team at the Harvest Church for providing those facilities and making it possible, and they too have spent a lot of time in preparation for us to arrive. A very special welcome to all first responders from our emergency services and to those from our healthcare centres in and around Horsham. We all know that it's been a very tough 2 and a bit years, and we thank them all for their great dedication and service in trying to keep everybody safe. Please forgive me if I've left anybody out of those introductions. It's certainly not intended, and I extend to you the same very warm welcome I did to those who were named. Shortly, the Police House flag will be marched in, accompanied by members of the Victoria Police Pipe Band. Police colours are paraded for all significant ceremonial events. They represent service to the community by each and every member of Victoria Police, past and present. This displaying of colours is considered to be sacred and is always regarded with esteem and veneration. Our police flag party today comprises of the Colour Commander, Senior Constable Isaac Morrow. The flag bearer is Senior Constable Ari Mellington, and the flag escorts Victoria Police Shrine Guard Bob Roberts and Victoria Police Shrine Guard Shu Cho. The police flag is about to be marched in as a sign of respect, and as you are able, we ask you to please stand. Thank you. Please be seated. Our speakers on the program will talk about Constable Edward O'Neill, his police service, and how his loss affected those who were left behind. The Victoria Police Blue Ribbon Foundation commenced operations 34 years ago, and from one of our state's most tragic police murders. Over time, we've assumed a very important role to remember the 174 members of our police force who have paid a price beyond measure for peace and safety in our community. Would you please welcome the Chairman of the Victoria Police Blue Ribbon Foundation, Mr. David Mann, AM KSJ.
Thanks very much, Neil, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Just days ago, we honoured and remembered those who died defending our country in times of war. Today, we join in remembering a man who served us in two theatres. During the Great War, as a member of the Australian Imperial Forces in Europe, and then in times of peace, as a member of Victoria Police. Today, we honour Warrant Officer First Class Edward O'Neill, DCM, who, following his military service, became Constable Edward O'Neill, a man who served us through the ADF and then through one of our emergency service organisations. The Foundation never takes for granted the honour bestowed upon it to represent the people of Victoria in remembering our fallen police officers. And here we are in the wonderful city of Horsham, a great part of this great state. I wish to thank the O'Neill family for allowing us to continue our work in memory of Ned, as he was known to his family, friends and colleagues. I would especially welcome and thank his extended family and acknowledge that many of you, as Neil said, have travelled great distances to be with us, and please travel home safely. It's been some time now since our first regional branch in Bendigo received its charter as part of the Blue Ribbon Foundation. Since that time, we've been joined by others to form a network of 16 separate regional branches across Victoria. It is the Victoria Police Force, not the Melbourne Police Force. And that's where we're lucky with our regional branches right across this great state. Our Horsham branch, led by President Dale Russell and supported by an incredible team of volunteers, has been one of our most productive this year. They're celebrating their 15th anniversary, so what better way to mark the occasion than by enhancing the public health facilities at the new Wimmera Cancer Centre. A few weeks ago, my wife and Annie came up to Horsham for the annual Commissioners' Dinner. And I didn't hide my thoughts when I was speaking publicly at another event. What a beautiful part of Victoria. I'm very sad to say I hadn't been here for 35 years. Hardly any graffiti. People who are proud to live in regional and rural Victoria. A great attitude by the staff of the shops, by the magnificent town hall. And it's just a good feeling, something to be very proud of. And don't ever take it for granted, those of you who live here or nearby, how lucky you are. It was an acknowledgement of wonderful service of the committee members with the Horsham branch, and a lot of money was raised on the night. People giving so much money. A box of nothing raised a lot of money. But it was going to the living memorials, the hospital equipment that hopefully one day you'll never need, but hopefully will save a life of a friend, a family member, or somebody travelling across Victoria. Our mission is not simply to fund hospital facilities. Our calling is to honour the memory of Victoria Police members who have fallen in the line of duty, and also to enhance the links between Victorian communities and their police force. I won't hide the fact it's been a very difficult 2.5 years for all the members of Victoria Police. They've been put in situations that there was no manual for. It was not part of their training, but they adapted to it. And I just wish some people would think when you dial 000, you call the police, who turns up to help you. Put yourself in their shoes. I did for 2 years as an observer, and ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't do their job. It's simply too hard, and it's changed from when I went out on the beat as a civilian. One of our other programs, which have been running very successfully for many years in this region, is our Spirit of Sport Awards program. It encourages and recognises fair play, sportsmanship and mutual respect in junior sport, and I want to commend the football and netball leagues for supporting this program, along with recently retired police veteran Les Power. Well done, team. I recall that when Mr Patton was named as our new Chief Commissioner of Victoria Police, he expressed a desire to move Victoria Police back to basic policing. Perhaps what we're doing today is an example of one of those principles, of serving our community and caring for our citizens through the work of Victoria Police Blue Ribbon Foundation, and by fostering a valued coalition between our community's protectors and its healers. It should be something that all who wear the uniform can be justifiably proud of. The project started on paper, but it took leadership and a lot of hard work to make it happen. So today I thank and congratulate our Horsham Branch Committee for providing a great deal of help from their volunteers, sponsors and supporters. In particular, I'd like to commend the generosity of the ACE Radio Network, who have supported us through this and other projects in Victoria that save lives with the living memorials. And to Mark Taylor and his team, they are now very proud ambassadors of the Victoria Police Blue Ribbon Foundation, and very deserving. Perhaps in recent times, we've seen both hardship and selfishness, but we've also seen many examples of people helping their neighbours and each other. And it's in these actions that restores your faith and reminds us that giving to others is more important than giving to oneself. The community of Horsham exemplifies this. The Blue Ribbon Foundation believes the highest honour we can provide to a member of Victoria Police who has made the ultimate sacrifice is not only to remember how they died, but to celebrate how they lived, and to dedicate facilities such as this to ensure that their service continues for the people of Victoria and the extended communities. And ladies and gentlemen, whenever I'm in a public audience like this, or any audience, I always say to the men and women of Victoria Police, any of you who have served and are now veterans, or any of you who are serving right now, would you simply please stand, and don't be humble. Any member of the Victoria Police family who has served or is serving now, please stand. On behalf of everyone in this room, thank you. Please be seated. Thank you. It's well overdue, ladies and gentlemen, but it's a pleasure and an honour to be here today for this very, very special ceremony, and just a few words to one of the family members has certainly made my day. Thank you.
Tall, isn't he? Thank you very much, David. An incredibly important and productive part of the Blue Ribbon Foundation, as David mentioned, is our network of regional branches located all across the state, and none more so than our Horsham branch, who have already installed other memorial projects in the Wimmera Hospital here at Horsham. Would you please welcome the President of our Horsham branch, who is also a Country Fire Authority veteran, Mr. Dale Russell.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Uncle Ron, for your welcome to country. Neil has already acknowledged several guests this morning, and I acknowledge everybody here today as distinguished guests. Many of you have travelled from elsewhere to be here, some with considerable distances involved, and I welcome you to the capital of the Wimmera, Horsham, Australia's tidiest town in 2001 and 8 times winner of Victoria's tidiest town title. Why is that so significant, you might ask? Well, at the time in 2001, Horsham was the only Victorian town ever to be bestowed with the honour of being Australia's tidiest town. the local hard-working and enthusiastic Tidy Towns Committee now have another chance to take out the Australian title, as the judges will be here in a couple of weeks' time. The Horsham branch of the Blue Ribbon Foundation was initiated 15 years ago today, when members of the local hospital executive and local police members met with a delegation from the Blue Ribbon Foundation from Melbourne. The meeting was basically a question and answer of how does a branch run. As a result of that meeting, it was resolved that a Horsham branch would be formed, and 2 weeks later, on the 17th of May 2007, a meeting comprising of the local police, hospital executive and members of the community was held, and the first office bearers were elected. During the subsequent 15 years, there have been many achievements, such as the dedication of the Constable George Hale resuscitation room and provision of associated equipment in 2009, the tremendously successful Spirit of Sports Awards, which are presented weekly to the under-17 netballer and the under-17 footballer, deemed to have displayed fairness, compassion, teamwork, leadership and respect in both of the local leagues, the Wimmera Football Netball League and the Horsham District Football Netball League. This is not a best and fairest award. It is for the player that competes with a good attitude towards his or her teammates and the opposition. Recipients are selected by respective league officials, and the award is presented the following week. At the end of the season, we present for both leagues a Player of the Year award, Team of the Year award and Coach of the Year award at the respective grand finals at the conclusion of the under-17 games. It took us 3 years to raise $100,000 for the Wimmera Cancer Centre, and that is why we're here today, to have a treatment area dedicated to Constable Edward O'Neill, who died in the line of duty 100 years ago today. Later speakers will talk about this in more detail. One of the regular fundraisers each year is the Inside Story, a crime night if you like, where we have a couple of police officers who volunteer their time to talk about investigations that they have been involved with. The next Inside Story will be on Wednesday the 13th of July. Keep an eye out for advertising leading up to then for more details. As a result of our 2021 Commissioners' Dinner, we raised almost $30,000, which enabled us to purchase a neonatal resuscitator machine for the Horsham Maternity Ward and the treatment of newborn babies. The committee was particularly proud of this purchase, as it was used within weeks of being commissioned. On Australia Day this year, our Secretary Kelly Schilling and I attended the Horsham Rural City Council Australia Day ceremony, and we're privileged to receive from Mayor Gilleen a certificate recognising that our 2021 Commissioners' Gala Dinner was the Horsham Rural City Council Community Event of the Year. It was indeed an honour to have our committee's efforts recognised in such a way. We have provided funding to the Horsham Hospital for not just the Constable George Hale resuscitation room in the emergency department and the neonatal resuscitator, but vital medical equipment such as a blood warming cabinet, specialist stretchers for moving patients, several vital signs monitors, ECG machine for the COVID ward, blanket warmer, specialist patients' chairs, and the list goes on. These donations total more than $500,000 in that 15-year period. Our current project is to provide funding for the purchase of a rapid infuser machine for the use in the emergency department and operating theatre. This piece of specialist life-saving equipment comes with a price tag of $44,000, and we're well on our way to achieving that, with $30,000 raised at our 2022 Commissioners' Dinner a few weeks ago. Thank you to our very generous sponsors who support our efforts year in, year out. At our recent Commissioners' Dinner, we had more than 90 businesses, organisations and individuals who all contributed in some way. Special thanks to our major sponsor, the Weekly Advertiser, 3WM, Mix FM and the ACE Radio Network. Gold sponsors, Skill Invest and Elders Horsham. Silver sponsors, Morrow Motor Group, Wades and Horsham Toyota. And entertainment sponsor, Harvey Norman Horsham. Mr Paul Margetts, who will speak later, has been a Blue Ribbon Horsham Branch Committee member for some years, and he is the chair of the subcommittee that organised today's dedication. Paul has done an outstanding job in organising this dedication, and I thank him sincerely for coordinating all of the different aspects to make this a successful and memorable event. Paul has recently retired from his superintendent's position following a distinguished 40-year career with Victoria Police. Thank you to Deb Robertson, who is the Acting Assistant Commissioner, for representing Chief Commissioner Shane Patton here today. Our Melbourne-based Blue Ribbon Foundation board and staff have had a major contribution in today's dedication ceremony, and I thank all of you for your input. Mr David Mann, AM, is our board chairman, and Mr Neil Soulier, OAM, is our Chief Executive Officer and MC today. I would be pleased if you two gentlemen would take back to your respective board and staff our sincere thanks for their help and support, not just for today, but for all that they do for us on an ongoing basis. Last night we had the pleasure of catching up with some of the Edward O'Neill's descendants at an informal dinner. What a great experience that was, with some relatives catching up, which they haven't been able to do for quite some time due to the tyranny of distance and COVID. Later you will hear from one of Edward's grandson, Ward, and view a short documentary produced by a great-grandson, Connell. I'd also like to thank the Harvest Church community for hosting us this morning. This is a great venue and we're appreciative of your hospitality. Thanks also to the Colour Party, Shine Guards and musicians for the poignant and spectacular mounting of the colours. And thank you to all of you for coming today and making this a memorable occasion for not just the O'Neill family, but the Horsham branch of the Blue Ribbon Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dale. We often say that our work in Victoria's public hospitals is a way to remember lives by saving others, and you can see evidence of this great work on our foundation website, remember.org.au. The foundation and its regional branches strives to support new projects that may not be available through normal funding, and above all, can deliver better outcomes for patients presenting at these hospitals. To give you an overview of the new facilities we are dedicating today, would you please welcome the Deputy Chair of Grampians Health, Mari Aiken. Thank you.
Should have done this before I stood up. I'd just like to start by acknowledging how privileged I feel to be here at this dedication ceremony today, and to start off by thanking the Blue Ribbon Foundation for the tremendous work that they do for the whole community, but particularly for our community here in Horsham at the Wimmera Healthcare Group. The resuscitation room at Wimmera Healthcare Group's emergency department is dedicated to Constable Jeff Howe. I was fortunate to accept the cheque on behalf of Wimmera Healthcare Group at the Blue Ribbon Foundation dinner for the $30,000 neonatal resuscitation unit, and what was our dinner that we managed to sneak in just prior to, during COVID really, in 2021. And now I'm absolutely delighted to be part of today's service when our treatment room at the Wimmera Cancer Centre is dedicated to Constable Edward O'Neill, honouring his work and all the work of Victoria Police. I've got to admit I didn't know much about the Blue Ribbon Foundation when I joined the board. Now I'm blown away by your tremendous work and the way in which your fundraising honours members who've died while in active service. Your events are always memorable. The Foundation Commissioners' Dinner has become a highlight on Horsham's social calendar, and it was so important that we were able to pull it off last year. Healthcare workers and police work with people when they are at their most vulnerable. Partnership is central to resolving complex health problems. Social circumstances contribute to health outcomes. Complex social circumstances often lead to our hospital doors and often involve police and health workers helping people together. In Horsham, it's a great working partnership, and the Blue Ribbon Foundation is a big part of this. It helps build connections, it helps build trust between the community and the police, between health workers and the police. So thank you once again for that tremendous partnership. Many people here will know that Wimmera Healthcare Group is now part of a new and exciting health service called Grampians Health, designed to really improve rural health outcomes for country people. And I'm proud to say that Grampians Health has confirmed its commitment to supporting and working with the foundation. And I'd just like to acknowledge that we've got Dale Fraser, our CEO, here this evening, and Mark Knights, who's our acting lead executive officer at Wimmera. So the health service is very well represented here today, and I think that demonstrates our commitment to the great work of the foundation. Grampians Health looks forward to the foundation partnership growing in the years ahead. I'm keeping my words quite brief, and I'd just like to end by thanking you on behalf of Grampians Health for the wonderful work you do to support Wimmera Healthcare Group. And I'd like to also assure those here that the work that is done by the Wimmera branch continues to support our Wimmera Health Services. And just go off on a slight tangent, which I haven't got approval to say. I haven't had to have approval for anything to say today, but Dale mentioned to me, Dale Fraser, that Ballarat does not have a Blue Ribbon Foundation. So Neil and David, Dale's here, and you never know, might be an opportunity for some expansion. But today we'd like to especially thank you for the outstanding fundraising you have undertaken to raise $100,000 to support the Wimmera Cancer Centre. We honour your work today in dedication to Constable Edward O'Neill. His name will proudly reflect our partnership and the work we do for our community in perpetuity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mari, and thank you to your colleagues who have joined us also here today. And I guess as a footnote, we've seen since 2020 and beyond a much bigger focus of people wanting to relocate to regional areas, and very important to them when they're looking at potential locations, the infrastructures that are in place, and highest above those is the standard of medical care and emergency care. So you could say that the work of our foundation and so many other great philanthropic organisations in supporting regional health centres has paved the way to make it a lot easier for people to be able to go and have that sea change or the tree change and move further about our state to raise their families. Your program booklets contain the names of those officers who have paid the ultimate price while serving and protecting our communities. A viewing of the Police Honour Roll will detail the circumstances behind each of those tragic events, but it reveals very little about the lives of those that we lost. As well as providing positive outcomes, our projects and the preparations for their dedication ceremonies provide us with those missing pieces of a member's life. And so it was very much the case with Constable Edward O'Neill, and the person who filled in so many of the missing pieces through methodical research is Constable O'Neill's grandson, Ward O'Neill. He tells the story better than anyone, and certainly better than I could, so would you please welcome Mr. Ward O'Neill.
I'm sorry, Neil, I've got to put the microphone up a bit. I should begin by saying that I'm known as Ward O'Neill, but in fact my full name is Edward, so I'm another Edward O'Neill. And I'm very proud to be the grandson of Edward O'Neill, one of 5 grandchildren, and I'm very pleased that both my sisters, Marianne and Deirdre, and their families are here today, but also very, very pleased that the other grandchildren, Kay and Marie, are here with their partners, Graham and Jeff. And I'm I can't tell you how pleased I am to see everyone in our family together after very many years of not being able to see each other, and for various reasons, like going to work in Sydney like I did. But I'm very glad to be back here. It's a great pleasure to be here today. It is a very special day for us, for the O'Neill, Burgess and Mentor families. These are my direct family members, but also Kay and Lisa's, Kay and Marie's families. It is. We find out that now there are 5 grandchildren, and there are 6 of Ned, and there are 16 great-grandchildren, and there's about to be another great-great-grandchild. We are very happy to announce. We're very grateful to the Blue Ribbon Foundation, the Victoria Police, the Wimmera Cancer Centre and the people of the Wimmera for this touching gesture. The naming of this essential and much needed medical treatment centre and the naming of the medical centre after our grandfather, Constable Edward James O'Neill. He was a brave and modest working man of some distinction, and I'm quite sure he would never have anticipated this level of recognition after so many years, 100 years exactly, after his tragic death. That recognition has to be bestowed on too many policemen and policewomen who have been killed on duty and lost to their families, friends, and the Victorian Police Force. Gestures like this mean a great deal. I mean a great deal to us, and I think I mean a great deal to the community. I would personally like to thank a number of people who have helped shine a light on Ned O'Neill's life. Paul Margetts called me a couple of years ago, quite out of the blue. It was really some surprise, I can tell you, to inform me of the plans of the Blue Ribbon Foundation to name the treatment unit after Ned. I subsequently dealt with Neil Cilia, Executive Officer of the Blue Ribbon Foundation. I understand that Kerry Schilling, and Secretary of the Horsham branch of the Blue Ribbon Foundation, has been instrumental in seeing through the plans that culminate in today's activities and events. I apologise to obviously very many more people who have been involved in the organisation, particularly in senior levels and administrative levels, and I thank them. I can't thank them all individually, but I would like them to know that I'm very grateful for what they have done. I also have to thank both of my sons, Tom and Connell O'Neill. Tom now lives in Los Angeles. He can't be here, but he's the person who designed the cover of the Small History. He is a digital motion graphics designer, which is distinct improvement on his father's life as an illustrator and cartoonist. And Connell, my youngest son, became very much involved with to the extent that he eventually made a short documentary for his university coursework, which is a very short but very compelling document on his life. It explains and helps explain so many things that were gaps in our knowledge about Ned O'Neill's life, and through one of Connell's friends and associates, a woman called Jan Bartram, who was very keen on Ancestry.com. I can't understand that quite, but anyway, it had the magnificent effect of making us all aware that, in fact, the O'Neill family was, in fact, extended, because Ned O'Neill himself lost his father when he was only 3 years old. His father was 29 when he died. I don't know how he died, but Ned's mother, Mary Sheehan from Limerick and Ireland, she remarried and she married a man called John Plant. This is what I found out through, or what Jan found out, and then I eventually found out through Ancestry.com. And then she had 5 more children, and one of those children was, this explained the mystery of one brother who was listed as killed. I thought it must have been one of Ned O'Neill's own brothers, Daniel or Joseph. But in fact, it was the brother who was killed in France was Lawrence Plant, who was Ned's half-brother. And they grew up together in Garfield in Gippsland, which is very near to where Ned O'Neill ultimately tried to become a soldier settler. It has been wonderful having that level of family involvement and to see, to be able to delve into the records of the Victorian State Records Office and the National Archives, and what I'm told by my historian wife, Margot, the gold that is in the repatriation files. These repatriation files are really wonderful social documents, and they reveal so much of the lives of the ordinary people who took part in war and the ill-fated soldier settler scheme. I'm not going to say very much more. I want to say that I wrote the biography largely because I thought I'd save you from the effects of an even longer speech by me, and I'll give you time to digest what for me was a sort of something of a challenge. Not what I normally do. I don't normally write, but I enjoyed the process very much, and with the assistance of Margot once again, I was able to do what I hope does some justice to Ned. I think my son Connell is, I think, going to speak and explain some of his pass on some of the things that he learned from his own involvement in recreating his great-grandfather's story, which has done all of us a great service. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ward. And that video that you spoke of we'll be playing that up here on the big screens just at the conclusion of the ceremony, so that we sort of conclude just thinking about Constable Edward O'Neill, soldier and police officer and family patriarch. Part of the Foundation's work into the future is to capture more of the life information and photos and family memories to expand the stories that we have on our version of the Victoria Police Honour Roll, so that it provides a much greater listing of how those members served our community, but also how they lived. And so we look forward to being in contact with more families, like we have during the course of this project, to gather that information and then to make it available to the public. And I think that's a terribly important thing for us as a community group to do, and to continually remind people that our police officers are not robots. They are family people, they are professional people, but at the end of their shift, at the end of the day, irrespective of whether it's been a good day or a bad day, nearly all of them still have to go home and be mum and dad, and we need to always remember that. Victoria Police is a very collegiate organisation, and so they will always remember and honour those who have fallen in the line of duty. That we in the community are able to share this noble honour alongside them is a privilege. So, ladies and gentlemen, prior commitments prevented our Chief Commissioner from attending today, but he is represented by Acting Assistant Commissioner for Western Region, Assistant Commissioner Deb Robertson, APM.
I'd have the same problem. Okay. I'd like to do it without glasses, but I can't, so I apologise for that. I'd also like to apologise for my tardiness in being 5 minutes late this morning. Time's pretty important to police, as you can well imagine, but unfortunately an operational imperative took place, and that's the nature of our work. So I'd like to start by thanking you for the opportunity to speak at such an important event and honouring one of our fallen members in the line of duty. Unfortunately, I was at a police funeral last week. We'd lost one of our members at the age of 25 in a car accident, and it had a bit of a profound effect. Well, it does anyway on all of us, but again, to be here today and I think about our loss of Constable O'Neill on a horse, not dissimilar to what happened last week to one of our members in outside of Mildura. So the Victoria Police Blue Ribbon Foundation Memorial Service for Constable Edward O'Neill, registered number 6512, will mark the 100th anniversary of his passing at Neil at the young age of 35. Constable O'Neill was born on the 21st of July 1886 and died on the 3rd of May 1922. He is the only police officer listed on the honour roll for the year of 1922. I'm here as the representative of Chief Commissioner Shane Patton, who's currently overseas and sends his apologies. I'm privileged to present and represent Victoria Police, but present the police star to Constable O'Neill's family and unveiling of the memorial plaque. Prior to joining Victoria Police, as we've said, Constable O'Neill served with the Australian Imperial Force during World War I in Gallipoli and the Western Front. He was discharged at the rank of Warrant Officer Class 1 and received a number of awards, including the Distinguished Conduct Medal. But his service to Victoria Police, he joined on the 16th of December 1920 as a mounted member. On the 28th of January 1921, he transferred to the depot of Russell Street for special temporary duties. Important to note that there's probably a lot of current serving police officers in the room that also went to the depot at Russell Street, which now no longer exists. On the 1st of July 1921, he returned back to the depot to complete his training. And in the meantime, he was on temporary duties around Melbourne, which would have been quite a distinct and different time to what we police today. On the 18th of January 1922, he was assigned to the Wimmera district for mounted duties. It had not been an easy task to track down the history of Constable O'Neill and his family, but I do want to recognise our I'm going to say retired Paul, but not quite yet, Superintendent Paul Margetts, who served the Western region very well over the last 5 years. And Paul had unwavering tenacity to ensure that we get to this place today. Paul got involved in Blue Ribbon in 2002, became an active committee member in 2015. In early 2019, he obtained information from Victoria Police Museum regarding Constable O'Neill, which led to a personal mission to locate the family so the Victoria Star could be awarded posthumously to the family today. On the 26th of April 2019, he visited the grave at the cemetery in Bell Street, Coburg, used some handy investigation skills, which clearly you still have, Paul, and tracked down Constable O'Neill's grandson, Ward, who we heard from just before. And on the 23rd of July 2019, they spoke. Paul then continually influenced to create an enduring memorial at the Wimmera Cancer Centre. I think it's important to recognise that because albeit there's been a lot of people involved, Paul's tenacity has wound us up here today. I understand that we've already spoken about that we have several generations of Constable O'Neill's family here, and it gives me great pleasure to hopefully meet some of you after this. Victoria Police would like to acknowledge the loss of one of our members and pay our heartfelt thanks and gratitude for the service of Constable Edward O'Neill, registered number 6512, and recognise this service today by awarding him posthumously the Victoria Police Star. Thank you.
Okay, this part of our program traditionally looks a little bit confusing, but rest assured it is all totally under control. Our first duty now is to unveil the commemorative plaques that will be permanently displayed at the Wimmera Cancer Centre, honouring this as that space as a memorial to Constable Edward O'Neill. So I'd like to call up some members of the O'Neill family, as well as Dale Russell, David Mann, our chairman. The Assistant Commissioner is in place. Paul Margetts, you absolutely have to be part of this as well. And there will be opportunities after the ceremony for you as you want to gather around and get your own photos of the plaque. And this will be followed once we've done that and pause for a few photos. We will then ask the Assistant Commissioner to present the Victoria Police Star. So everybody, either side, up the back, but be careful of the equipment behind there. Don't put a foot through the drum kit. Paul, members of the family, Ward, anybody else who would like to be part of it? We love a crowd at this thing, so don't be left out.
Come and join us.
Yes. Oh, got to have grandchildren too. Yes, please.
We are the grandchildren.
Oh, great. Gee, they aged quickly. There we go. Yeah, you can go behind there if you like and park up there.
If you wanted to stand behind, there is a step. Yeah, that's better.
Just be careful of the bits of equipment at your feet. Perhaps move in a bit, otherwise you'll get lost behind the lectern. All right, and Deb, and you've got the honour because the string is at your end, Deb. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everyone got their photos? Good, okay. You might, thank you. Ward, you might like to stay up here. You'll be receiving the medal. Oh, I guess that's what you designed in the banner, right?
Yeah.
You can bring someone else up if you like. Okay. The Assistant Commissioner, Deb Robertson, APM, will now present a posthumous Victoria Police Star to Ward O'Neill, family member, grandson of Constable O'Neill. The Victoria Police Star is an award for Victoria Police employees who have died or been seriously injured whilst on duty or in service. The citation reads, the Victoria Police Star is awarded to Edward O'Neill, Constable 6512 of Nil, in remembrance and recognition of his service to Victoria Police and the Victorian community. At about 10:30am on Monday 17th April 1922, Constable O'Neill was on duty and riding across the water reserve at Nil, west of the golf links, when his horse caught its left fetlock at a hole. The animal stumbled and threw O'Neill heavily to the ground. He was also struck at the head by a hoof. He was conveyed to a nearby hospital where surgery was performed, but he never recovered. On Wednesday, 3rd of May 1922, he died of septic meningitis caused by a compound fracture at the base of his skull. Assistant Commissioner will now present the Victoria Police Star.
You're pointing to me.
Tilt the medal.
Sorry.
Get there.
I'm looking at it. I can't quite take that in.
How's that? We'll get it right eventually.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very
There
much.
they are. Right. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Now that we've dedicated the the new facilities of the hospital and presented the star and acknowledged the life and service of Constable O'Neill, we now invite the Senior Police Chaplain, the Reverend Drew Mellor, and local Horsham Police Chaplain, who is the senior pastor here at the Harvest Church, Andrew Cartledge, to lead us in prayers and a blessing. These are multi-faith prayers and blessings for the new oncology treatment ward at Wimmera Cancer Centre.
I'd like to invite, welcome up onto the platform. Please keep coming. Local chaplains, Reverend Heather Scott and Rabbi Aviva Kippen. Heather Scott is the local police chaplain at Stawell, and Aviva is the local chaplain for Melbourne West, and also is one of our resource advisory chaplains within our multi-faith constituency of our chaplaincy unit. And they're going to be involved in laying hands on the plaque, symbolically bringing a blessing from a combined background of faiths, traditions and cultures, which is the makeup of Victoria Police. It is the makeup of the chaplaincy unit within Victoria Police, and it's certainly the makeup of our wider Australian community. As I come to this time of offering some prayers, first of all, Andrew will be bringing a couple of prayers of thanksgiving, and then we'll have the dedication prayer. This type of gathering is incredibly close and personal for myself and for my wife, who is here with us today as well. We both come from a nursing background, and my wife is still a registered nurse. I've moved on to some other things, but you can't take nursing out of the nurse. And as an emergency care nurse at Box Hill Hospital for close on 10 years, I was privileged to be able to see firsthand the tremendous work that all of the staff within our medical facilities get involved in from a team effort in order to bring care at appropriate times to people. And I'd have to say, when I looked at the facility last night, I was struck in two ways. One, it is top-class facility, not just because of the equipment, but because of the people that make up. Without giving specific detail, I happened to have an impromptu conversation with someone during my time here, we only arrived yesterday, who happened to talk about their experience and the beautiful care that came from medical, nursing, ancillary, and the volunteers within the Wimmera Cancer Treatment Centre. And it was wonderful to hear. I would like, when we come to the dedication prayer that I will read on behalf of the Blue Ribbon Foundation, I would like those who are representing the Grampians Health, is that what it's called now? And if there are others who are working or volunteering within the health facilities here in Horsham or the surrounds, I would like to invite you to stand, because the dedication prayer, particularly the words that I've constructed, provide a prayer of thanks and dedication and blessing for those who are working within the facility. So when it comes to the final prayer that I will pray, if you would mind standing, that would be wonderful for us in acknowledgement of your care and your attention. Andrew, thank you.
Thank you, Drew. It's a very great honour to be able to lead us in prayer, so why don't we pray. God of all people, we give thanks for the vision and the partnership which gave rise to this project, for the gifts and the skills of many different professions and individuals who together have contributed to the establishment of the Constable Edward O'Neill treatment rooms at the Wimmera Cancer Centre. We give thanks for the dedication to duty of our Victoria police officers and for the love and support of their families. We are grateful for the generosity of those who, through the support of the Victoria Police Blue Ribbon Foundation, have contributed energy, time, skill, and funds to this, and other projects of care for the benefits of our community. Grant to those who will frequent this facility strength, healing, hope, and peace of mind. Comfort their loved ones who will anxiously watch and wait, and give to those who work here wisdom, skill, patience, and compassion. Amen.
And we come to the dedication and blessing prayer. If those who are in attendance, who are involved in the facility and surrounding medical facilities, please stand. That would be wonderful. And if my fellow chaplains can lay hands, let us pray this prayer of dedication and blessing. On behalf of those who have brought this project to fruition, and in acknowledgement of all people of goodwill from our differing faiths, backgrounds, cultures, and traditions, I dedicate this facility for the purpose of care, protection, restoration, healing, and comfort. And in a united way, we bless the Edward O'Neill treatment rooms and all who work within them. May this living memorial honour Constable Edward O'Neill's name and legacy, and remind us of his example of selflessness in the service of others. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, chaplains. I'd now like to call on Superintendent Paul Margetts to perform the final ceremonial part of our event today, the reading of the Police Ode.
I won't say anything. I didn't say anything. Thank you, Neil, and it is my privilege to deliver the Police Ode this morning, which in terms of history, and today is a day of history, the Police Ode was written by Commissioner Bull of the Western Australia Police in 1988. So, here we go. As the sun surely sets, dawn will see it arise. For service above self demands its own prize. You have fought the good fight, life's race has been run, and peace, your reward for eternity begun. And we that are left shall never forget. Rest in peace, friend and colleague, for the sun has now set. We will remember. We will remember. Hasten the dawn. Thank you.
Oh, good heavens. Glad I wasn't thinking out loud. Okay, that completes the formalities of our ceremony this morning, but we need to retire the colour party. So if I may ask, would you please stand and ask for the house flag to be marched out of the room. Thank you. Please be seated. Might point out that the colour party comprised of members of the Victoria Police Pipe Band who travelled up from Melbourne this morning, and also the flag bearer and the flag commander, local members, one from Horsham from the Highway Patrol and one from Edenhope. So it's nice to have our local members involved as well. Another memorial for Edward O'Neill, Constable Edward O'Neill, is a memorial garden that has been created at the Nil Police Station where he was positioned at the time of his death. The members up there have expressed some time ago a desire to mark the 100th anniversary of his passing, undoubtedly with some very good encouragement from Paul Margetts. And so that has been put in place, and members of the O'Neill family and any others who would like to see that, most welcome to travel up to Nil today and tomorrow. And I believe that there are a couple of times, I think 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. were suggested as good times for the local members to be able to greet you and show you where that garden is, and even lay a floral tribute if you wish. That concludes our dedication ceremony for today. At the end, because we now have a short video that we would like to show you that has been produced by your sons, I think it is, Connell, from Connell, and it's a very talented young person, knows a lot more about electronic and digital media than I will ever forget. So we'd like to play that, and then light refreshments will be served in the room opposite. Once again, thank you so very much for being part of this very important ceremony today. I thank again all of the people who have helped raise the funds to put it in place for the medical facility, Grampians Health, for showing faith in us to be able to achieve what the branch up here set out to do, and to all of the police members and the health professionals for their service to community. Thank you very much.
What it is I've had a really long-standing curiosity about my grandfather, which really began with the photograph. I was fascinated by the fact that he died so long ago, and yet still he seemed to have, sort of a strong presence within the family. I was told very little about him because people knew very little about him, or could say very little. Edward James O'Neill was born in Footscray on the 21st of July 1886. Ned married my grandmother, Coral Hook, in 1910, enlisted in the AIF in September 1914, serving in the 28th Australian Army Service Corps. Like most members of the AIF, they were initially sent to Egypt for training. Ned served at Gallipoli before embarking for France. Ned subsequently rose to the rank of WO1 and was awarded a Distinguished Conduct Medal for conspicuous gallantry, devotion to duty, good all-round work, and setting a splendid example to all. He returned home because both his parents had died while he was away, and two younger siblings, had lost their parents, and he'd also lost a brother in the war, and another one was badly wounded. So he really had the task of looking after his own family plus 2 siblings. There was an economic depression after the First World War, so returning soldiers returned to a very difficult economic environment. So he couldn't get the job that he left when he went to war. He was requesting small amounts of sustenance money to tide him over in what was a very difficult period after quite an effort to establish himself and to compensate, I think, for the fact that he couldn't get work. He decided to set up this dairy farm under the soldier settler scheme. And I subsequently found out that the soldier settler scheme was politically and economically a doomed venture by the state. Basically, he had to forfeit the farm. You can actually see the handwriting deteriorating clearly in a very, very emotional state. They were undercapitalised. My grandmother wouldn't stay and work on the farm. What his plight really reveals is that so many returning soldiers shared the same fate. There was nothing much for them to return to. That's what eventually led him to join the police force, 1921-22. He died on the 3rd of May 1922 after a horse riding accident. Intense sorrow was expressed on all sides when it became known that Constable E. O'Neill had succumbed to the injuries received by him on Easter Monday. And he was only 3 months in Nil when he died, so he'd only been there a very short while. But he made a big impression on the people of Nil. He was popular with all classes on account of his urbane temperament, his unfailing courtesy and sterling integrity. It was an email, actually. Paul Margetts, who turned out to be the superintendent of police in Horsham, was trying to get in contact with me due to his involvement in the Blue Ribbon Foundation. The job of the Blue Ribbon Foundation is to memorialise police killed on duty, but it was a complete shock and most unexpected.